Hi guys, welcome to week number 7 of quarter number 1. Let's go ahead and dive into our week. So today is Monday, and for the most part today is going to be focused on wrapping up some loose ends from last week and getting prepared to dive into our project as we continue our focus on Costa's questioning. So make sure you're filling in your attendance question and your agenda. And so if we look at our important reminders in our to-do list, we know that we need to wrap up that grade check from last week, that moving on up from last week, Costa's video. And as a reminder, you guys had homework this weekend to take care of yourself and do one of our self-care activities. And so today is about getting that journal entry done and ready to submit and turn in. So we are going to be reviewing Costa's 3 levels of questions during Zoom today. I am going to briefly go over it in our video as well. And then to prepare for tomorrow's class, you guys are going to be watching the true story of the 3 little pigs. And as we are coming close to report cards being due and our quarter closing out, just a reminder that next Thursday is the last day for late work. So we will not take anything after next Thursday. So let's go ahead and dive into our Monday folder a little bit more. Our question for attendance today says, what self-care activity did you choose and why? So we talked a little bit just a minute ago about having that self-care activity for homework this weekend. So this is your chance to tell us what you chose and why, and kind of, what you needed this weekend to focus on to kind of, relieve a little bit of that stress from last week of getting our grades picked up and ready for progress reports. So our very first link is actually our Costa's questions review. So we are going to take a quick look at that. And then we're going to talk about the true story of the 3 little pigs that we're going to watch to get ready for tomorrow. So with our Costa's questions for review, we already did talk about last week where it says, in life, why is it important to ask good questions and give examples? And so we talked about that last week, about the importance of questioning. And so that's going to be kind of our focus again this weekend, kind of as we go forward into our next couple of units. So level 1 questions. So with Costa's, there's 3 different levels of questions. Level 1 being our most basic. So this is an input question where we just gathered that information. It's something we either know or something that we can point to in a text or do a quick Google search and find. So level 2 is going to require us to think and to use our brains to process that information, to really think about what do I already know and how can I start to begin to make those connections. Our level 3 level of questioning is our highest level of thinking, and this is where we're doing that output. So we're applying new information to new situations, we're making judgments, and most of the time this is where we are going to be creating something new beyond whatever it is that we have just taken in for information. So what does this look like? So a good example would be in a social studies class. If we focus on like that U.S. history class, level 1 would be, who was the first president of the United States? And who was the 16th president of the United States? I can point to a chart on a page and I can find those. So there isn't a lot of thinking involved with this. This is more like being able to search and just point out the answer. So level 2 is where we're starting to activate our brain. So a good example of this from a U.S. history class would be, how were Lincoln and Washington similar and how were they different? So we have that compare and contrast. Now we're going to take those facts and information that we know and we're going to start to come together and build some of those connections. Level 3 is our output. So who was the better president and why did you choose them? So now we're taking all that information in, we're really thinking about it, making those big connections, and now we are outputting some new information or some new conclusions that we have drawn. So what does this look like in theory? So we have Costa's levels. We have this image right here. You guys could be given images. You guys could be given stories. You guys could be given different things in content. And we can still apply Costa's to different situations. So level 1 is input. So what are the components in the picture? So in that picture, I can point to exactly what the components of the picture are. There is no real thinking on this. Again, I can just point to the answer. So level 2 is processing. Again, that requires that beginning level of thinking and making some of those beginning connections. So for example, that would be explain why the time is lower than the money. So we got to think about that one a little bit to give an answer. So that's processing. The next one says compare and contrast time and money. So that one I have to look at both of those, and I got to do a little bit of thinking before I can give my answer. And then finally, we hit our highest level of thinking on level 3, and that is our output. So it says hypothesize what this picture is trying to communicate. So I take all those things. So what are those elements? What are these different compare and contrast things? Why is one lower than the other? And I start to think through, and I put all of these together, and I come up with some new thinking. So this is where I am reaching beyond what is just in front of me with this picture. That was our quick review for Costas. Make sure you guys have completed the Costas video from last week through Edpuzzle. Grades for those will be updated shortly. All right. So the very last thing that we are going to be tackling today is the true story of the Three Little Pigs. You will click on the link, and then you will get to watch our 5 to 6 minute video about the true story of the Three Little Pigs, as we are going to be using that to dive into our project for our Costas unit. So I hope you guys have a great Monday, y'all.